Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Tuttle. I am the chief formulator and one of the founders of Live International. And it's my pleasure this afternoon to talk to you a little bit about one of my favorite products, which is BLOX. And without further ado, let's get started right on the product. Hopefully everybody can see my screen and give me a thumbs up if you can, if we're okay on the screen. All right, we're good to go. All right. As I mentioned, I am the chief formulator. I've been formulating products for almost 40 years now. And what I found is that there is a lot of difference in quality. I started out my career, my background is in chemistry and microbiology, and I started out my career looking at the quality of especially herbs and other raw materials. And what I found is you can find a wide variety of different ingredients. For example, the ashwagandha that we use, and this is not in this product, but just for example, the ashwagandha we use in our product is actually a very highly concentrated ashwagandha. I purchased some ashwagandha from one of the vendors that supplies a lot of the companies, and it came back and it was little sticks of ashwagandha. And really, how much benefit do you think you're going to get from eating little sticks of ashwagandha? Certainly, it was ashwagandha. There are also a lot of issues with people using misnaming products. And so quality for me was my background and the first thing I got started in the natural products area. And so that to me is the number one factor. If you want results, you need to have high quality ingredients. And so what I'm going to do now is talk to you a little bit about as I mentioned, one of my favorite products, which is BLOX. And for me, it's all about unlocking our potential and being able to really stay healthy. Somebody asked me the other day, when should I start using these products? And I said, well, as long as you want to stay healthy, that's when you should start using the products. Should I wait till I'm sick? No. Basically, we want to stay healthy by using the products and by having good health habits. So let's talk a little bit about how BLOX can help us with that. First of all, I think most of us probably, at least in the last few years, have become worried about our family's health. How can we protect our family? How can we protect our personal health? How do we not share colds and flus and other kinds of issues? And then long term, how about other more chronic and long term sicknesses and issues that we increase our risk by certain dietary habits, and we can decrease our risk by the things that we do and take. And so what we're going to talk about today is unlocking our immune potential with BLOX. And here's a quick summary, and then we'll get into the details of the functions of BLOX. It basically supports the body's immune system. It offers antioxidants. We know antioxidants help protect our cells. And it also offers rich nutrients to help feed the body with various nutrients. It helps to fight against free radical damage with those antioxidants, helps build your body's cellular protection. In other words, what are those cells that actually help take out the bad guys, that help protect us and keep us healthy? So it helps with that. It also balances our body's natural immune system. Now, the nice thing is that it balances. And the other last part is that it supports gut health. So that's a quick overview of what it does. And now we're going to get into a little more of the detail of how it works and the ingredients. So what it contains, BLOX contains 8 of the world's most powerful immune boosting herbs and really nothing else. It's a concentration of those particular mushrooms and that really help. The fun thing is that our product they're sourced from around the world. We know that there are certain herbs and certain ingredients that grow better in certain climates that have a reputation for growing better quality herbs in certain areas, and they're just found in those areas. For example, from Brazil, our agaricus mushroom was originated in Brazil. It's used widely in Japan, but it's originally from Brazil. We have some from China, we have some from Europe, we have some from Japan, and some that are wild crafted, which means they're harvested in the wild in the United States. So we're going to talk a little bit about those. What are they? What are the herbs? First of all, Tiaga. And we'll get into detail. We're not going to have time to talk about all of these. However, we will have time to talk just about a few of these, the key herbs in there, the key mushrooms in the product. First one, Tiaga, which is an immune booster antioxidant. We have turkey tail, which is also known as Coriolis, maitake. Some of these you may have heard of, some you may not have heard of. Astragalus, which is a root. And astragalus, well, here's a good example of quality. You may see somebody say, well, I have astragalus in another product. Well, it may be the leaves. What if it's the leaves? Well, the leaves don't have the active ingredient that we want. And so can a vendor sell astragalus as astragalus, but yet have the wrong part of the plant? Absolutely. And I especially see that with products like ginseng, where they say this is 100% ginseng. Is it ginseng? Yes, but the active ingredients are actually in the roots. The same thing with astragalus. And so for me, that is a critical factor as we look at these ingredients in our products. So we have astragalus and we have danshen, which is another one that's antioxidant, very powerful immune stimulant. Shiitake mushroom, that's a more common one. Many of you probably have heard of shiitake mushroom. Agaricus, which is the one from Brazil that is now widely used in Japan. It's used extensively in Japan. And then we also have our lychee. And those are the ingredients that make up our BLOX formula. So what we want to do is we want to put all of these together. Any one of these would be great, but what we want to do is put them all together and actually have a product that will supercharge our immune system. So here's what we're going to do. That's a quick summary of the product. If you just want a summary, there you go. That's kind of an overview. But so what I'm going to do now is go into more of a deep dive into some of the ingredients. Again, I mentioned not all of them. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of a couple of these, some of the ingredients, why choose BLOX as opposed to other mushroom formulas, how to use the product, and then just a couple of final thoughts. So if you'll fasten your seatbelts, we're going to jump in after that quick summary and go through some of these. Now, some of the history with these mushrooms, the ancient Native Americans found out that there were certain mushrooms that were very woody. There's one in particular called Tiaga. It's a really woody, normally would not eat that type of mushroom because it's very hard. But they saw that sick deer would chew on this mushroom when they wanted to get better. I guess they would just find out, why would these deer be chewing on it? What they found out is that it helped heal. And so they began to put this in their medicine bags. They would grind it up and put it in their medicine bags, and then they would make a tea out of it. And so this tea they would feed to people and help get them healthy. So they found out by experience. Years later, due to scientific studies, we find out that there are really powerful immune stimulants in this Tiaga mushroom. And so Tiaga is probably the key ingredient in our formula. And in fact, it comprises most of the formula because it is so powerful. Also, I don't know of another company that is harvesting in the wild and getting these Tiaga mushrooms. They're difficult to get. They are expensive. And so most of them settle with the maitakes and some of the other immune stimulant. But this one, I can show you how powerful it is. Really, what I'd like to talk about is a good thing never dies. Okay, so what they learned in history has been passed down through the ages and then provided by nature, but then confirmed by science. So we're going to go through some of the science. So let's talk about Tiaga first. Tiaga contains a substance called 3-beta-D-glucans. And what this active ingredient does that naturally occurs in the Tiaga, it basically does a systemic modulation of T cells, macrophages, neutrophils, which are white blood cells, when you ingest it. In other words, what does that mean? It boosts all of these types of protector cells in our body. Interesting studies have shown that taking the Tiaga, cells increase by as much as 4,000%, these protector cells, within 20 hours after taking Tiaga. And Dr. Landis said, I'm convinced that Tiaga will, without a doubt, entirely eclipse every other natural health supplement ever produced. Now it's on its way. We are the pioneers with the Tiaga mushroom. And, like some other things like hydration, that we've been into hydration for 20 years. Now everybody's coming out with a hydration product. All of a sudden, hydration is important. I know that Tiaga one day will be way more common. However, you have a chance to get it and use it right now. So let's look at some of the benefits of and how powerful Tiaga is. Now, these are kind of small, and I won't go through all these. These are all studies. I actually have about 115 pages of scientific studies supporting the benefits of Tiaga and these other mushrooms, which are in our product. They're all based on science. In other words, it has immunomodulation effects. It has antioxidant properties. It has anti-inflammatory activity. It also has been shown to be antimicrobial and antiviral. Now, it helps protect our body. This is not an antibiotic. It's not something you're going to take as an antibiotic. This is something that can help build up your own immune system so that when those guys come, you have your defenses built up. It's been shown to have anti-cancer potential. Why is that? Because it has antioxidant properties, which help protect the body at a cellular level. When we get cell damage, the body can either repair the cell, it can basically kill the cell so that then it's taken out of the body, or sometimes the cell will mutate and begin to reproduce. And that's when we have problems with things like cancer. And so cell repair through antioxidants or protection of cells through antioxidants is very important. Also, hepatoprotective effects. How when you know somebody with liver issues? Well, it helps protect the liver at a cellular level. And this is interesting because all of our products and all these function at a cellular level. We call it our CAT technology, cellular activation technology. So it activates our defenses at a cellular level. Also, neuroprotective properties. So very important attributes to just this one mushroom. So in other words, it has immune support, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, hepatoprotective, and neuroprotective. So it has some great benefits. It's not just for the immune system. Another mushroom I want to talk a little bit about is Coriolis. Now, Coriolis is a mushroom. It's also called turkey tail. Okay. And you can see there's a picture of it right there. You can see why it might be called turkey tail due to those rings on it that makes it kind of look like turkey tails. It grows on dead wood, and it's harvested. And some of the key active compounds in there, there's a polysaccharide, which is basically a long chain sugar, but it is actually the polysaccharide K is actually used as an approved adjunct in cancer therapy in Japan. In other words, they will use that in conjunction with chemotherapy. Why? Because it helps modulate, boost the immune system. You can see at the bottom it doesn't just boost the immune system, it helps balance and regulate it. It enhances what we call NK cells or natural killer cells and macrophages. So basically what we want to do is when we've got these bad guys in our body, we want to build up our immune system and help eliminate and to help protect us from these invaders. Some of the other benefits, improve survival rates in studies that improve survival rates of people that were undergoing conventional cancer treatments. In other words, these can be used along with any type of cancer treatment. Now, I'm not saying these are used to cure cancer. What I'm saying is the studies show that it helps people who may be dealing with those types of things. Immune function, again, helps defend against common pathogens. What's a common pathogen? Colds and flus, seasonal challenges. Also helps with gut health, acts as a prebiotic. Now, prebiotics are like the fertilizer in your gut that helps create a friendly environment for your good bacteria to grow. So it actually helps the good bacteria grow. And we know that 70% of our immune system is built where? It's built in our gut. Another one is the astragalus I mentioned earlier. It has quite a few different functions. It helps modulate immune response, may even help with common colds and other things. These are all based on studies that have been done utilizing these key mushrooms. And actually astragalus is actually a root, but helps support healthy blood pressure. You can see a long list of benefits especially when we combine these together. Anti-aging and vitality, kidney and adrenal function. The TCM, it says used in TCM to support kidney function. That's traditional Chinese medicine. Okay, so it's used in that traditional Chinese medicine for kidneys and also even for areas when they're worried about stress. Agaricus is the mushroom I mentioned from Brazil. I told you this is going to be a deep dive. So this is some pretty deep stuff here. But I think it goes to point out the depth of these supplements and why they're important and how they can really benefit us taking them on a daily basis. Agaricus, blazei is called the agaricus or ABM mushroom. And it doesn't just boost the immune system, it helps balance and regulate the immune system. That's another one that they use in conjunction with certain treatments for cancer because it helps. So, the strongest area of research used as a complement therapy in Japan. Japan uses a lot of agaricus mushroom. Studies show to improve the quality of life and reduce the side effects like nausea, pain, loss of appetite during chemotherapy and radiation. So, again, not cures, but certainly to help along with somebody who's undergoing that type of treatment. What that basically tells me is that it's a product that can help boost your immune system and help deal with any type of these cellular issues. Okay. Another one about agaricus helps with immune defense, helps with metabolic health. It helps in some of the studies show that it may help lower the bad cholesterol and support healthy blood sugar, gut health. Again, beta glucans also function as a prebiotic. The Tiaga also has it. So there are several of these mushrooms have similar ingredients. They come from a different source, however, similar ingredients: beta 1,3-D, beta glucans, and also beta 1,6 beta glucans. So they are great for immunomodulation. So why choose Live products? Well, they did a study. This is an independent study. I had nothing to do with this study, but they did a study where they took 30 immune supporting dietary supplements that they purchased on Amazon.com, and they were analyzed by a third party lab. 17 of the 30 products contain inaccurate labels. 13 didn't comply with the label claim. In other words, it said it had one thing, had something else. It didn't have what the label claim said. Just they didn't, what it said on the label was not there. And 9 had additional ingredients that were not detected or that were detected, but not on the label claim. So, do you really know who you're getting your supplements from and what's in the products that you're getting? That's one thing that I pride myself on is, I did these products for myself, for my family, for those people I care about. And it's very important to have the highest quality ingredients and make sure that they're exactly what it says on the label. It's not just some unknown person. It's my friends and family and your friends and family who are using these products and sharing with others. So I want you to have full confidence. Another one issue with, especially with mushrooms, is that, for example, the genus Agaricus contains both edible and poisonous species. And I've seen on a few occasions where the wrong species was harvested or a partial of the wrong species was harvested and mixed with the right species. And when it got mixed, it had some very deleterious effects. Just a few poison mushrooms mixed in by somebody who was inexperienced and picked the wrong mushroom could cause some real problems. Again, it's another study, 41 people sickened in a multi-state salmonella outbreak. And it was linked to some mushrooms that were then recalled. So quality, again, I go back to quality. So kind of a quick summary: complete protection, external antioxidants. Okay, it has antioxidants that help protect you. But the key here is it also has internal antioxidants. In other words, it helps boost things. You may have heard of some of these things like glutathione, enzyme system that helps boost your superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione. So all of these things, you could take them. However, it's much better if our body is stimulated to produce them ourselves. And then the third part is immune protection, things like T cells, NK cells, macrophages, interferon, and lymphocytes. All of those are helped boosted by the ingredients in BLOX. So benefits: supports your immune system, brings in antioxidant rich nutrients, and then works with your body to fight against free radical damage. And then the last is it helps build your body's cellular protection against that free radical damage. Now, one of the other keys that's very important, they did some studies on what's the best way to extract these active ingredients from the mushrooms. And what we found out is that hot water extraction is better even than, like, say, alcohol or other things that are used to extract. Some people will make tinctures. They'll put it in alcohol and do an extraction. Well, hot water is the best menstruum for extracting the active ingredients. And so ours is a 10x potency hot water extracted concentrate. So when you take a capsule, you're basically getting the equivalent of 10 capsules. Now it's easy to grind up mushrooms, dry them and grind them up. You really don't get the benefits that you do when you have as when compared to a 10x potency. So supercharge your immune system. So you do it in 3 easy steps. 1, take your blocks daily. Okay. Let the magic happen and feel like a superhuman. Now, you can take in times of stress. Sometimes I'll take 6 during a day, 2, 2, and 2. Most of the time, I take 2 every morning, and that works just fine to keep me healthy. But if I feel something coming on or I'm being around a lot of people who may be sick, I will increase my amount of blocks that I take. And there's no problem. You really can't take too much. It just helps stimulate. I guess you could take too much and just there's diminishing return, I guess we could call it that, is are 10 capsules better than 6? Probably not a whole lot. So, I would guess around 6 is probably about the max you want to take during a day. Is it harmful to take 10? No, you can take the whole bottle and it wouldn't cause a problem. However, it's just a little more expensive than just doing the 2 to 6 during the day. Okay. So quick tip, got kids? Really, you can turn them into immune boosting champions by sneaking blocks into their smoothies, put them into applesauce, mix it with yogurt. My grandkids, especially now the kids are getting back to school, all the kids get blocks, at least the little ones who are kindergarten, first, second grade, open up and put it either basically in anything, a little bit of applesauce, and that's really good for them to take. And then for us adults, a couple of capsules every day. The kids are running off to school now and running into every kind of thing that they could possibly get. So that's a quick rundown on our blocks. And I don't know if anybody has any questions right now, but what I'm happy to do now, I mentioned that we would do a giveaway for blocks. I have everybody's name down. And what I'll do is I don't have the magic wheel. So what I'll do is I'll have John run the magic wheel, and let me just write down really quickly so I make sure I have everybody down here. Let me